We are doing feminism and environmentalism. Feminism and environmentalism. These are the two things we are doing today. First of all, we are going straight to feminism. What is feminism? Feminism is a social movement that is concerned with the progress of women. Feminism is a social movement that is concerned with the progress of women. Feminism is, of course, a social movement which is deeply concerned with the progress, prosperity of women. It is based on the principles of equality and emancipation. The two principles on which feminism is based are equality and emancipation. Emancipation means freedom or liberation, women's liberation. So feminism is based on the principles of equality. Feminism demands equality with men. Women should have equality with men, and also emancipation from the bondage that patriarchy had created. So once again, see, feminism is based on the principles of equality. So feminism wants or demands equality with men in all realms, in all areas. And emancipation. Women want liberation. They do not want to be shut up within the four walls of a room or a house. They want emancipation. They want freedom as men enjoy. So these are the two principles on which feminism is based: equality and emancipation, or liberation or freedom. Emancipation means liberation or freedom. Feminism is based on the assumption that gender roles are predetermined and woman is conditioned to fit into the cultural roles constructed by a patriarchal society. So feminism lives on the assumption that, or it is based on the assumption or conclusion that gender roles, man should do this and women should do this. So this is the gender roles are given to man as well as women. Women are given inferior roles, like looking after the family and bearing children, etc. So the feminists believe that, or we can say feminism is based on the assumption that, gender roles are predetermined. Gender roles are determined by the patriarchal society. It is the male-dominated society that has determined the roles which are assigned to women. The roles that women enjoy are determined by the male-dominated society. That is patriarchal society, male-dominated society. That is what the feminists believe. Or feminism is based on this assumption. Which assumption? That gender roles, women should fit into these roles, and man should do all these things. These kinds of gender roles are determined by the patriarchal society. They are predetermined, and the woman is conditioned. The woman is conditioned to fit into the cultural roles constructed by a patriarchal society. Patriarchal society means male-dominated society. That means it is the male dominated society, or it is the men who determine the roles of women. From that they want liberation. From this kind of slavery, women demand emancipation or liberation or freedom. So once again, feminism is based on the assumption that gender roles are predetermined. They are determined by the male dominated society or men, and the woman is conditioned slowly or gradually or step by step with the passage of ages and years. The women are conditioned to fit into the cultural roles constructed by, the cultural roles created by a patriarchal society. A woman should do all the household duties. Women should dance in front of others. Women should sing songs. So these cultural duties or cultural roles are assigned to them by the patriarchal society or the male dominated society. From this assumption, feminism has emerged. Feminism has come out from this assumption. Feminism gained momentum as a movement in the 20th century. Feminism gained momentum or speed or acceleration. As a movement, like any other movement, it gained momentum in the 20th century. Even though it was there earlier, feminism had started earlier, feminism gained a momentum or speed or acceleration in the 20th century only. The movement, the feminist movement or feminism covers three phases, three stages, three phases, or feminism has three phases. Feminism covers three phases. Which are the three phases covered by feminism? The first wave or the first phase or the first stage is political. The first wave of feminism occurred during the period between 1830 and 1920. 1830 and 1920. It is called a political wave. Political wave of feminism. The movement spans or covers three phases, and the first phase or the first wave is political. The period of the political wave or political phase is the period between 1830 to 1920. The second is cultural. The second wave or the second stage is cultural. It is in the 1960s. Cultural phase occurred. Cultural phase came into being during the decade 1960s. And the third phase or the third wave is that of academics or intellectual space. So which are the three phases of feminism? Political, then comes cultural, then comes academic. Political, cultural and academic phases. The political phase was during the period between 1830 and 1920, and the second phase that of a cultural phase is during the 1960s, and academics, the third phase, happened post 1980, after 1980, post 1980. The suffrage movement means movement demanding the right to vote, a right to vote for women, that we have studied earlier. We have studied all the suffrage movements in a separate video. See, if you have not remember now, please watch them, because they are available in YouTube always. At any time you can watch them. At any time you can clear your doubts. So the suffrage movement, the movement demanding right to vote, and the civil rights movement clamoring or demanding civil rights or the civic rights. the rights to women as that the men enjoy, the civic rights movement or civil rights movement. So this movement, the suffrage movement and the civil rights movement, kick-started. It suddenly started the first wave of feminism. This is the political wave. Political wave of feminism began or started or commenced with the suffrage movement and civil rights movement by women. The political wave or political phase or political stage of feminism happened or occurred with the suffrage movement and the movement for civil rights or civil rights movement. And these two movements kick-started the first wave of feminism, that is political. The second wave, that is cultural wave or cultural phase. The second wave is a critique of patriarchy for constructing woman's cultural identity. You know, the second wave, that is cultural wave or cultural phase, started by criticizing vehemently or strongly the patriarchal society for assigning separate roles to women or determining women's cultural identity. You know, women very vehemently or strongly criticized, they began to criticize the cultural identity assigned to them, given to them by the patriarchal society or male-dominated society. That is the second wave. Which is the second wave? That is cultural wave or cultural phase. So it is a strong critique of patriarchy. It is a strong criticism on the patriarchy or male-dominated society for constructing or creating woman's cultural identity. So women said, you have no right to fix our cultural identity. Who gave you the right to fix our cultural identity? We do not agree with the predetermined cultural roles or cultural identities assigned to us. That is the cultural phase of feminism. It is a critique of patriarchy for constructing woman's cultural identity. The third wave is mainly academic. That is after 1980. That is academic wave or academic stage. What happened during the academic stage? You know, see, academic stage, the third stage is mainly academic and is closely related to Marxism. This academic stage was created because of Marxism, the coming or emergence of Marxism and post-structuralism after the 80s, post-structuralism and the psychoanalysis or psychoanalytic principles enunciated by Sigmund Freud. So these three things influenced the women folk, and these paved the ground for the academic phase of feminism. The third phase or third stage, third wave of feminism is academic, and it is related mainly to academic phase is related mainly to Marxism, post-structuralism and psychoanalysis. Mary Wollstonecraft, she is an English writer, philosopher and an advocate of women's rights. She was a vehement advocate of women's rights. Who? Mary Wollstonecraft. Don't forget the name, the English writer's name, philosopher and an advocate of women's rights, Mary Wollstonecraft. She was the first woman to make a theoretical exploration. She made a theoretical exploration of gender equality. The first woman who made a theoretic exploration, theoretic research of gender equality is Mary Wollstonecraft, the famous English writer, philosopher, and the advocate of women's rights. She explored gender equality. She demanded gender equality, equality for women along with men in all spheres, all walks of life. Who is that personality? Mary Wollstonecraft. Mary Wollstonecraft. What did she do? She made a theoretical exploration of gender equality. Wollstonecraft's contribution to the shift from femininity as natural to femininity as social. So Wollstonecraft's contribution is Wollstonecraft's contribution is the shift or change from femininity as natural to femininity as social. She found that feminism is not a natural phenomenon but a social phenomenon. It was her observation or exploration that, it was her findings that femininity was not at all a natural phenomenon. It was a social phenomenon. Then Virginia Woolf. I need not to say much about her because I have done a special video. I have done a separate video on Virginia Woolf. Haven't I? Yes. Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf is the founder of feminist literary criticism. If you are asked about the founder of criticism, the answer is Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf is the founder of feminist literary criticism. Woolf brought forth means out. Virginia Woolf brought out the theories of androgynous creative mind. Androgynous creative mind. Androgynous means partly male and partly female. She pointed out that the creative mind is partly female and partly male. So, according to her, every person has feminine qualities as well as masculine qualities. And she vehemently brought forth the idea that she strongly brought out the idea of the androgynous creative mind. Androgynous means partly male and partly female creative mind. What does it mean? She pointed out that the separation between man and woman is absurd and humbug. It is foolishness because every creative mind has the elements of masculine and feminine. Masculine and feminine. She very strongly in the male dominated society, she came forth with the idea of androgynous creative mind. Androgynous creative mind. Simone de Beauvoir. SIMONE DEBEAUVOIR. Simone de Beauvoir. French writer, political activist, feminist, social theorist. She was a French writer, political activist, feminist and social theorist. Simone de Beauvoir pioneered the second wave of feminism, that is cultural or cultural identity. She pioneered, she was an earlier worker of the cultural identity concerning with women. Simone de Beauvoir, the French writer, political theorist and social theorist, feminist, she pioneered the second wave of feminism. Second wave of feminism, cultural, regarding cultural identity, with her poignant statement. Poignant means sad, pathetic, pitiful statement. She made a very pitiful or pathetic or painful statement. She said, one is not born a woman but becomes one. One is not born a woman but becomes one. One is born as a child. Only later people start telling her, you are a woman, you are a girl, you are a woman, so you have some limitations. You are not supposed to enjoy the liberal freedom as men have, and you have some limitations. You are not supposed to go out without the permission of the elders, and you have not to mingle with the men, and such limitations, such restrictions are imposed on them. So she very aptly and poignantly said, which was her poignant statement? One is not born a woman but becomes one. A person becomes one. One is born as a child. Only later with the it is others that make her believe that she is a woman. She has some cultural roles. She has some roles different from those of men. Then she held that the essence of woman was a construct of the patriarchal society. She held the opinion, or she opined that, she was of the opinion that, the essence of woman was a construct of it was a creation or construct of the patriarchal society at all levels, political, social, economic and religious. In all these levels, in all these areas, which all areas, political area, social area, economic level and religious level, it is the male dominated society which constructed the essence of woman. The male dominated patriarchal society constructed woman and compelled her to believe that she is not liable to enjoy voting rights. She is not liable to contest in elections. She has some social limitations and she has economical limitations. She cannot enjoy jobs as men do, and also she has religious restrictions. And these were determined by patriarchal society. This is what Simone de Beauvoir said. Simone de Beauvoir was the opinion that the essence of woman was a construct. The very essence of woman was the creation of the patriarchal society. That is the male dominated society at all levels. At all levels means political level, social level, economic level and religious level. That is about feminism. You will be asked to write a paragraph on feminism. Not an essay will not be asked for you. That is why I have cut short this. Then now we have another ism, that is environmentalism. Environmentalism. What is environmentalism? Environment means, the environment, the area in which we live, the surroundings of us, the surroundings in which we live. That is what is environment. Environmentalism, environmentalism is a social movement. Like feminism, environmentalism is also a social movement that focuses on, environmentalism focuses on the conservation, preservation and restoration of environment. The environmentalists want to conserve the environment, preserve the environment, and restore the environment, restore back the environment in its original position, original condition. So what is environmentalism? Environmentalism is a social movement that focuses on conservation, preservation, and restoration of our environment, of the environment. It is an attempt. Actually, environmentalism is, of course, an attempt to strike, create, make a fine balance between the natural ecosystem and man. Environmentalism means striking a balance, a harmonious balance, a very good balance, keeping up a very good balance between the natural ecosystem, the natural ecosystem in which we are living, the natural ecosystem and man. What is the purpose or aim of environmentalism? Environmentalism is an attempt to strike a fine balance between the ecosystem and man, the natural ecosystem and man. So environmentalism is an attempt to strike a fine balance between the natural ecosystem and man. The environmental pollution that took place or spread after the Industrial Revolution galvanized people to make measures, to take measures to protect the environment. Industrial Revolution is a boon as well as a bane. It is a boon in the sense that the economic development was caused by industrialization. That is a fact. At the same time, industrialization brought about the environmental pollution which adversely affected the health of people. So it is in one sense a bane, a curse also. What Industrial Revolution? So the Industrial Revolution galvanized people, tempted people, forced people to take measures, to take remedies, to take measures or to find out solutions to protect the environment. Why? Because the environment was polluted after the advent of Industrial Revolution. The environmental pollution that took place after the Industrial Revolution galvanized people to take measures to protect the environment. The Industrial Revolution actually caused environmental pollution. The environmental pollution that took place after the Industrial Revolution galvanized or forced or compelled people to take measures to protect the environment. John Ruskin, I have mentioned him in a video. He was a famous Victorian essayist and writer. John Ruskin, he was also an environmentalist. And William Morris was a painter, a poet, and a staunch environmentalist. William Morris, John Ruskin, William Morris, and others started back to nature movement. They demanded back to nature. They found that the psychological and physiological problems caused by human being is because of man's keeping aloof from the environment or the nature in which he was living. Man has become out of tune with the environment. Man has become isolated. The nature's beauty doesn't affect him. Man seldom notices sun rising and sun setting, the beautiful scenes of the nature or the environment. So John Ruskin and William Morris demanded that we must have a moving back to nature. We should go back to nature. We should try to live in a harmonious blend with nature. We should live harmoniously with nature. So this was the demand produced by John Ruskin and William Morris, the painter cum poet. Back to nature. The movement they started was back to nature movement. Back to nature. Going back to nature. Going back to nature to enjoy the scenic beauty of nature, which is a great pleasure for mind. The painting mind will greatly be soothed by the scenic beauties that the nature gives us, nature offers us. Nature has all the remedies to cure the mental pain, but we do not notice. We are ignorant of the healing power of nature. We doesn't notice the healing power of our environment. So, John Ruskin and William Morris started a movement called Back to Nature movement. So it is the forerunner of actually Back to Nature movement, which started in the 19th century or the Victorian age. Back to Nature movement commenced during the Victorian age. It was a forerunner. It was a pioneering effort of modern environmentalism. Actually, the Back to Nature movement was a forerunner of modern environmentalism. The interest and concern for the environment stimulated green studies or eco-criticism. Two topics or two subjects have been formulated because of the interest and concern for the environment. Which are the two topics? Which are the two subjects that people interestingly took for their study because of their interest and concern for the environment? It was the deep interest and concern for the environment stimulated green studies and eco-criticism. Green studies and eco-criticism. Criticism of ecology, eco-criticism. These two studies have been stimulated by man's deep concern for the environment to which he is part of, to which man is part of. So, actually the interest and concern for the environment stimulated the green studies and eco-criticism. In America, eco-criticism was taken the bearings from the transcendentalist writers. The transcendentalist writers Waldo Emerson, Margaret Fuller, and Henry David Thoreau. They were transcendentalist writers. They were the worshippers of nature. And in America, eco-criticism which demanded the preservation of ecology or environment has taken the roots from the three transcendental writers or the three transcendentalist writers. Who are the transcendental writers who worshipped nature? Ralph Waldo Emerson, American essayist, philosopher and poet. Ralph Waldo Emerson was a famous American essayist, philosopher and poet. And Margaret Fuller, she was also an eco-critic and philosopher. Henry David Thoreau, American naturalist, essayist and poet. Henry David Thoreau. These trio or these three writers three transcendentalist writers. They upheld the glorious nature of environment. In America, they were great eco-critics. Who are the great eco-critics in America? The transcendentalist writers, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Margaret Fuller, and Henry David Thoreau. Then Jonathan Bates, he is a British academician, biographer, scholar, and eco-critic. What is his name? Coming back to Britain, Jonathan Bates. Jonathan Bates, British academician, biographer, scholar, and eco-critic. Jonathan Bates spearheaded. He led the British version of eco-criticism. The British version of British type of eco-criticism was led by, spearheaded by, it was led by the famous British academician, biographer, scholar, and eco-critic Jonathan Bates. So this is what is environmentalism. Study feminism and environmentalism for answering short questions.